I always believed that danger announces itself loudly. A slammed door, a raised voice, a sudden shift in the air. But I learned something that night. The real kind of danger, the kind that destroys a marriage from the inside, comes quietly. At 2 a.m., while the house was silent except for the hum of the heater, I woke up to the softest sound: whispers. My husband's voice, and another voice I recognized instantly: his mother's. And in that moment, before I even understood the words, my heart knew something was horribly wrong. Because she wasn't supposed to be in our home. Not at that hour, not after what happened earlier that day. And when I finally heard what they were whispering about, everything inside me cracked. This is the story of how one night, one conversation, and one hidden secret destroyed everything I believed about love. Before I continue, please like the video and subscribe. Your support helps us share more real emotional stories. When I first heard the whispering, I thought I was imagining it. I had been exhausted all day, emotionally drained after yet another tense afternoon with my mother-in-law. She visited unannounced, as always, and left chaos behind, as always. So when I woke up thirsty and walked through the hallway, I expected nothing but silence. But the moment I passed the living room, I heard it. She can't know. Not now. My steps stopped midair. My husband's voice was low, uneasy. I'd known that tone for years. It was the voice he used whenever he was hiding something or trying to avoid conflict. Then I heard her, his mother. Sharp, firm, and far too confident. I warned you, she's getting suspicious again. If she finds out, everything will fall apart. My breath caught in my throat. Find out what? I pressed myself against the wall, barely breathing, every part of me frozen in place. Their silhouettes moved in the dim light, the two people who were supposed to protect our home, now whispering like conspirators. My husband sounded desperate. You said it was taken care of. His mother scoffed softly. It was. 20 years ago, I made sure of it, and I can do it again if I must. 20 years ago. Why would anything from 20 years ago have anything to do with me? A cold shiver ran through my spine. My hands trembled without permission. And then, my mother-in-law reached into her purse and pulled out a small envelope. Old, yellowed, worn around the edges. My husband's breath hitched. Mom, why did you bring that here? She smirked. Because your wife has been asking too many questions lately. My heart dropped. I didn't even know what I was supposedly close to discovering. But the fear in my husband's face told me one thing clearly. Whatever was inside that envelope, it was something he never wanted me to see. And whatever was inside that envelope was connected to both of them. I took a shaky step back. The floor creaked. Instant silence. Their whispers stopped. Their movements froze, and then both of their heads slowly turned toward the hallway, toward me, toward the place where I stood with my heart pounding like a trapped bird. My husband forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Oh, honey, you're awake? We were just talking about tomorrow. His mother, with her cold and knowing smirk, added, You should really be sleeping, dear. Stress isn't good for you. Or the baby. The baby. Always the baby. Always her way of reminding me she thought I wasn't good enough to be a mother. I swallowed hard. What's in the envelope? She stepped forward slightly, her eyes glinting with a strange satisfaction. Oh, sweetheart, the truth isn't something everyone can handle. My husband whispered sharply, Mom, stop. But she didn't. She never did. You want to know what we're hiding? Good, because the night is far from over. Her words chilled the room, and that was how the nightmare truly began. The room felt heavier than it should, as if the walls themselves knew something I didn't. My mother-in-law moved slowly, deliberately, like someone who enjoyed being watched.
Her fingers rested on the old yellow envelope, tapping it with a rhythm that sounded almost mocking. I stood in the doorway, trying to keep my voice steady. "I asked you what's inside that envelope." She smiled. Not a pleasant smile, but the kind a person gives right before saying something cruel. "My dear, some truths do more harm than good." My husband stepped between us, rubbing the back of his neck like he always did when cornered. "Can we not do this in the middle of the night?" he whispered harshly. "Mom, please." But she ignored him, keeping her cold eyes on me. "You've been looking through things that don't belong to you, asking questions you shouldn't ask." I felt my stomach drop. "I haven't looked through anything." "Oh, but you will. And when you do, this will make sense." My breath caught. This wasn't a conversation. This was a warning. My husband finally grabbed the envelope from her hand, almost snatching it. "That's enough." She glared at him. "You don't get to hide this from her forever. She'll find out just like she always finds out." A silence settled between them, a silence filled with history I wasn't a part of. A silence that made me realize something terrifying. This wasn't the first time they fought about secrets. My husband shoved the envelope into his pocket. "We're going to bed," he said firmly, grabbing my arm gently. "Mom, we'll talk tomorrow." But she stepped forward and said something that made my entire body tense. "You should tell her before someone else does."
Someone else. Who else could know? And why would they tell me? My husband pulled me toward the staircase, his jaw clenched. "Good night, Mom." But before we reached the steps, she said one last thing. "It wasn't my fault. 20 years ago, I did what I had to do." The breath left my lungs. My husband froze mid-step. I turned toward her. "What happened 20 years ago?" Her expression hardened. "Ask your husband," she said coldly. "He lived through it too." My heart dropped. My husband had always told me his childhood was normal. Nothing unusual, nothing traumatic. He never mentioned anything out of the ordinary. But the way his face changed, the way his shoulders stiffened, the way his eyes avoided mine, he remembered. He remembered something he never wanted to share. He pulled my hand again, more urgently this time. "We're going upstairs." But I stopped. "No, I want to know what's going on." His voice trembled. "It's not the right time." "When is it ever the right time?" I snapped. My husband's mother crossed her arms, watching us with quiet satisfaction. She liked this. The power, the confusion, the control. My husband exhaled shakily. "Please, just trust me tonight." Trust. How could I trust him when he and his mother whispered about me at 2 a.m.? How could I trust him when they were hiding something connected to his past? And, apparently, mine. Still, I let him lead me upstairs. Not because I trusted him, but because I needed time to think. When we entered the bedroom, he closed the door and sat on the edge of the bed, burying his face in his hands. I stood in front of him. "Give me the envelope." He looked up slowly, red, fearful. "No." "Why?" "Because it will destroy everything," he whispered. "Us. My family. Everything." I stepped closer, my voice trembling. What could possibly be so bad? He didn't answer. Instead, he took a deep breath and said something that chilled me to my bones. "My mother wasn't supposed to keep that envelope, and you were never supposed to know it existed." My heartbeat quickened. "What's in it?" He hesitated. "It's about a woman." My stomach tightened. "What woman?" Another silence. And then, "She used to live in this house." I felt like the floor shifted beneath me. A woman, this house, 20 years ago, and an envelope his mother didn't want me to open. "Who was she?" I whispered. He closed his eyes. And then, from downstairs, a loud, sudden noise echoed through the whole house. Something had fallen. Or someone. We both looked at each other, startled. His mother was downstairs, alone. Or at least, she was supposed to be.
The noise from downstairs was sharp, metallic, sudden, and completely out of place in a sleeping house at 2:30 a.m.
My husband shot to his feet instantly, his eyes wide but strangely unreadable. "What was that?" I whispered. He hesitated before answering, as if calculating how much truth he could afford to show. "It's probably my mom. She may have dropped something." But the tremble in his voice said something different. He was scared. Not concerned, not irritated. Scared. He moved toward the bedroom door, but I grabbed his arm. "Wait, you didn't finish. Who was the woman who lived here?" He flinched at the question, the way someone flinches when touched on a fresh wound. "It's not what you think," he said quickly. "She wasn't... Look, I barely remember her. I was a kid. Then why did your mother keep an envelope about her?" Her throat bobbed nervously. "I don't know." He did know. He just didn't want to say it. Another sound echoed from downstairs. This time, softer. A slow creak, like someone stepping deliberately on the wooden floor. A shiver ran up my arms. He pulled his arm free gently but firmly. "I'm going down," he murmured. I followed him automatically, but halfway down the stairs, he turned and blocked my path. "Stayed here." "No." "Please," he whispered, eyes pleading. "Just this once. Listen to me." His voice cracked. Not in anger, but in fear. Fear of what was downstairs? Fear of what I might hear? Or fear that his mother would say something he couldn't take back? He stepped down the remaining stairs and disappeared into the dim light of the living room. I held onto the railing, leaning forward just enough to hear. At first, nothing. Just silence. A heavy, suffocating silence. Then, "Mom," he called softly. "What happened?" No answer. "Mom, where are you?" Still nothing. The air shifted. A cold draft brushed against my skin, raising goosebumps along my arms. Then finally her voice. "I'm right here." But something was wrong. Her voice wasn't coming from the living room. It was coming from deeper inside the house, the hallway near the old guest room. A room we never used. A room she always refused to enter when she visited.
I watched as my husband walked toward that hallway, his steps slow, cautious. "Why are you back there?" he asked. Her answer sent chills into my spine. "I thought I heard her." My pulse kicked. "Heard who?" my husband asked. "The woman." Everything inside me froze. "What woman?" he demanded sharply. My mother-in-law giggled. A low, unsettling giggle. "The one who lived here before. The one you pretend you don't remember." My husband stiffened. "Mom, stop." But she only stepped further into the darkness, her silhouette disappearing deeper into the hallway. "I remember her," she whispered. "I remember all the things she did, and I remember what I had to do to stop her." Stop her? My breath caught. I moved down one more stair, unable to stay still. My husband's voice rose slightly, panic slipping into his tone. "Mom, we're not doing this tonight." But she didn't listen. She never listened. She said one more thing, a sentence that hit me like ice water down my spine. "She was pregnant too, you know. Just like your wife." My hand flew to my stomach unconsciously. Pregnant? Another woman? In this house? Before I could process the shock, my husband turned around and saw me standing on the stairs. His face went pale. "Honey, go back to the room." "No," I whispered. "Tell me what she means. Who is this woman? What happened to her?" He opened his mouth, but his mother spoke first. "She disappeared." The silence after that word felt like a scream. I swallowed hard. "What do you mean, disappeared?" My mother-in-law stepped out of the darkness then, her face half lit, half hidden, eyes shining with something I couldn't name. "Oh, sweetheart," she said gently. "No one ever really disappears, unless someone makes them." The room spun. My husband stepped in front of me, protectively, the first time all night, but his mother only smiled. "Aren't you curious?" she whispered. "To know what's in the envelope? To know what she went through? To know why this house doesn't like new wives?" New wives. Plural. More than one? My husband grabbed his mother's arm tightly, and then the old guest room door creaked open. By itself. All three of us froze. A cold breath of air drifted out. My mother-in-law looked at the door and smiled wider. "She's still here," she whispered. "She never really left." My heartbeat thundered in my ears. "What does that mean?" I whispered. My mother-in-law turned to me,
her voice low and trembling with something between fear and excitement. "It means you're not the first woman this house tried to get rid of."
The old guest room door stood half open, a thin sliver of darkness spilling into the hallway like something alive. My husband tightened his grip on my arm, pulling me a little behind him. He was breathing faster now, the calm mask he always wore starting to crack. His mother, on the other hand, looked eerily calm, almost satisfied. "She was standing right there," she whispered, pointing at the doorway. "That's why I came downstairs. I thought she was back." My throat tightened. "Who?" I forced out. "Who were you expecting to see?" She turned her head slowly, her eyes locking onto mine with unsettling certainty. "The woman who lived here before you. The one who lost everything in that room." My stomach dropped. "What happened to her?" But before she could answer, my husband snapped. "Mom, stop lying to her. Stop scaring her. Nothing happened in this room." His mother raised her eyebrow. "You don't remember? Or you don't want her to remember?" Her voice was silk, but her words were knives. My husband flinched like she had slapped him. "I was a child. I didn't know what was real." She stepped closer to him. "You knew enough." The air thickened, as if the house itself leaned in to listen. I felt trapped, standing between the past and the present, between two people who clearly shared a history I had never been told. My husband ran a hand through his hair. "Mom, go home, please. We'll talk tomorrow." His lips curled. "Oh, honey," she said softly. "Tomorrow might be too late." I couldn't take it anymore. I stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. "Tell me what happened in that room." Her gaze shifted to me, cold, assessing, almost pitying. "You really want to know?" "Yes." She took a slow breath. "She lived here with him before you. She was about your age, sweet, quiet, ready to start a family." My heart hammered painfully. "And then," I whispered. Her smile faded. "And then she started questioning things. Just like you." A chill tore through me. She knew too much. And one night, she went into that room crying. She nodded toward the open doorway, and by morning, she was gone. I felt my legs weaken beneath me. "Gone? Gone where?" She tilted her head. "That depends on who you ask." I turned to my husband, desperate for something, anything that made sense. "What is she talking about?" But he looked broken. "I don't know. Mom always talked about her like she was some kind of ghost." "A ghost?" I said shakily. His mother laughed softly. "Oh, she was real, dear. Very real. Too real." Then she leaned close to me, her voice dropping to a chilling whisper. "And she was pregnant, too." My breath caught. What happened to her baby?" My mother-in-law's expression hardened. "That's the part your husband never forgave himself for." My husband stumbled back as if the ground beneath him shifted. "Mom, stop it." But the damage was done. Her words hung in the air, heavy, suffocating, irreversible. I stared at my husband. "You lost a baby? You never told me?" He closed his eyes, pain tightening every muscle in his face. "It wasn't my baby," he whispered. I froze. His mother's smile returned. "Are you sure, darling?" I felt dizzy. None of this made sense. Everything felt tangled, twisted, dark. "Why would you keep something like this from me?" I whispered. He opened his eyes slowly, tears gathering in the corners. "Because I don't know what's true anymore." His voice broke. "I only remember fragments, arguments, crying, my mother dragging me out of that room. Blood." He choked on the last word. I felt the world tilt. "Blood?" I whispered. His mother stepped forward sharply. "That's enough. She doesn't need to hear those parts." "Yes," I said, trembling. "I do." My husband took a slow, painful breath. He disappeared. He whispered. "And the police came. And my mother, she protected me." Protected him? From what? Or from who? My mother-in-law suddenly straightened. Her voice regained that cold authority she always carried. "We are not reopening that door," she said firmly. But the door was already open. And then, as if on cue, the lights in the hallway flickered, buzzing softly before returning to their dim glow. My mother-in-law froze. My husband stiffened. And from deep inside the guest room, something shifted.
Not loud, just a soft dragging sound, like fabric moving across the floor or someone taking a slow step. My breath caught painfully in my throat. My mother-in-law whispered, "See? She's awake now." My husband grabbed my wrist. "We're leaving, right now." But I didn't move, because the faint sound from the guest room came again, this time unmistakably closer. A soft whisper, a woman's whisper. "Don't trust them."
The whisper was so close, so soft, so unmistakably real that my entire body locked in place. Don't trust them. A woman's voice. Barely above a breath, barely human, barely possible. My husband's grip tightened around my wrist until it hurt. "We're leaving," he whispered harshly, "now." But I couldn't move, because the sound wasn't imagined. It wasn't distant. It wasn't a memory. It came directly from the open guest room, from the darkness inside. My mother-in-law stepped back, her eyes wide, but strangely thrilled. "She's awake," she whispered again. I knew she was still watching over this house. My heart thundered painfully. "Who?" demanded. "What is happening in this house? What are you two hiding from me?" My husband ran a shaky hand over his face. "This isn't real. She's not real. Mom, stop feeding her this nonsense." But his mother's voice sharpened like a blade. "She is real. You just don't want to remember her." He turned on her. "I was a child. I don't know what I saw." "You saw enough," she snapped back. The air between them crackled, years of suppressed truth rising like smoke. I felt sick. "Tell me the truth," I whispered. "What happened to that woman? Why do you keep saying she never left?" My mother-in-law's expression softened unexpectedly, almost pitying. "She suffered. She cried in that room for nights, pregnant, alone, begging for someone to believe her." "Believe her about what?" My husband shook his head violently. "Don't listen to her. Mom twists everything. She always has." But even he didn't sound like he believed himself. Another sound came from the guest room, a low creak, like weight shifting on old floorboards. I stared into the darkness. "There's someone in there," I whispered. My husband stepped in front of me instantly. "No, there isn't. You're under stress. You're imagining it." But then the sound came again, louder, closer, undeniable. My mother-in-law's lips curled. "She wants to warn you," she murmured. "She knows what's happening. She knows what's coming." "What's coming?" I asked. My husband nearly shouted, "Nothing! Mom, stop!" But she didn't stop. She never stopped. Instead, she walked slowly toward the open door, her fingers trembling as if reaching toward something I couldn't see. "She lost her family in this room," she whispered. "And she doesn't want it to happen to you." A cold wave washed over me. She lost her baby here, didn't she?" My mother-in-law stopped moving. My husband's breath hitched. And neither of them answered. The silence was louder than any confirmation. My voice cracked. "This house, something happened in this house. Something terrible." My mother-in-law turned her head, eyes glistening strangely. "Terrible things happen when wives ask too many questions," she said quietly. My stomach dropped. "That sounds like a threat," I whispered. She didn't deny it. She didn't confirm it. She only smiled. My husband grabbed her arm harshly. "Stop talking like that." But she pulled away with surprising strength. "You think you can protect her the way I protected you," she hissed. He froze. Protected him from what? I stepped forward. "What did you protect him from?" She looked directly at me. No smirk, no fake sweetness, just truth, cold and sharp. She said. Another chill ran through the house, so sudden it made the lights flicker again. My breath trembled. "What truth?"
My mother-in-law spoke slowly, each word crushing the air around us. That woman, the one who lived here before, she didn't disappear. I blinked. You said she disappeared. No, she interrupted. I said that's what people said. Her eyes darkened. But I never said. I believed it.
My husband swallowed hard. Mom, please don't. She raised a hand to silence him. The night she went missing, she was the last person she spoke to. My husband went pale. My heart lurched painfully. Why? I whispered. What did she want from him? My mother-in-law took a single slow step closer to me. She wanted help. The air turned colder. My husband shook his head, voice cracking. She's lying. She's twisting it. But his mother cut him off. She begged you, she whispered. She begged you to protect her baby. My breath left my body. My husband's face crumpled with something I had never seen in him. Guilt so deep it looked decades old. I didn't understand, he whispered, tears forming. I was a kid. I didn't know what was happening. My mother-in-law whispered. She died thinking no one would save her. Silence fell, so heavy it felt like another presence in the hallway. Then the whisper returned, this time louder, clearer, from inside the guest room. He knows. My husband stiffened like he had been struck. I felt my knees weaken. My mother-in-law smiled darkly. She remembers him. My husband covered his ears like a terrified child. No, stop, stop. But the whisper came again, longer, closer. He knows what happened. My husband's face drained of color, his breathing quick and uneven as the whisper echoed through the hallway again. He knows what happened. He stumbled backward, one hand gripping the wall as if the house itself was collapsing beneath him. I don't know. I don't remember anything, he cried out, voice cracking. My mother-in-law watched him with unnerving stillness, her eyes sharp, calculating. You remember, she murmured. You've always remembered. You just pretend not to. I stepped toward him, my heart pounding. Hey, look at me. What is she talking about? What do you know? He shook his head frantically. I was a child. I didn't understand anything back then. I didn't know what she wanted from me. His voice broke again, this time into a desperate whisper. I didn't know. I couldn't help her. Something inside me twisted painfully. The raw guilt in his voice didn't sound fake. It sounded old, as if he had carried it his entire life. But his mother, she smiled. Not kindly, not proudly, but with the satisfaction of someone who had waited decades for this moment. You were the last person she saw, his mother said quietly. The last person she trusted. My husband covered his ears again. Stop! Just stop! But she didn't. She knocked on your door, remember? Begging, crying. Her voice softened, becoming almost haunting. You saw the blood. My husband let out a strangled sound, something between a sob and a gasp. I felt sick. My husband's mother continued, You saw what they did to her, and you told me, you ran to me. You were terrified. Terrified? Not of the woman, of something else. My husband shook his head violently. No, that's not what happened. Mom, you're twisting it. You always twist things. She stepped forward, speaking with the certainty of someone who believed their own lies, or their own truth. I protected this family, she said. I did what needed to be done. A cold shiver slid across my spine. What did you do? I asked, my voice trembling. She didn't answer. Not directly. Instead, she looked at me with unsettling calm. Some women break themselves, she murmured, and some women break the home around them. I felt the floor tilt under my feet. What happened to her baby? I asked. Neither answered. The silence was worse than any lie. My husband finally whispered, She said someone was after her. His mother-in-law hissed. She was delusional. She said she wasn't safe, he continued, ignoring her. She wasn't, his mother-in-law snapped, and I made sure of it. He froze. I stared at her. What do you mean, you made sure of it? Her lips twitched.
Some women shouldn't be mothers. My heart dropped. Ice filled my veins. She was pregnant, and something happened to her, here, in this house. My husband's breathing grew shallow. She screamed, he whispered, voice barely audible. In the hallway, I remembered the sound. Mom pulled me away. She told me to forget it. His face contorted with anguish. I tried to forget, but sometimes I hear her. My mother-in-law's jaw tightened. You hear nothing, she snapped. It's your imagination. But then, the whisper came again, clearer, closer, directed at him. You left me. My husband let out a broken sob, his legs buckling. I rushed to him, but he flinched away, not for me, but from the memory breaking through his mind. I didn't leave her. I didn't know. I didn't know what was happening. My mother-in-law's face hardened, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. Enough. She's feeding off your weakness. What is? I demanded. That voice, that memory, that woman. Her eyes narrowed at me. She wants you to doubt us. Us. Not him. Us. She saw herself and her son as a unit, and me as the threat. Just like she saw the previous woman. And suddenly, the pieces clicked. This happened before. With her. You isolated her too. My mother-in-law's eyes flashed. You have no idea what she did. Then tell me, I shouted. She stepped close, her face inches from mine. She tried to take him away from me. Her voice was sharp, cold, territorial. She tried to turn my son against me, just like you're doing now. I felt my stomach twist. My husband shook his head weakly. No, she wasn't like that. You said... Husband cut him off instantly. I said what I needed to say. A horrifying clarity struck me. You lied to him, I whispered, his whole life. She didn't deny it. Instead, she leaned closer and said softly, a mother protects, even if it means rewriting the truth. I stared at her, horrified. You didn't protect him. You trapped him. Her eyes sharpened. This house traps weak women, not strong ones. She smiled. The ones who ask too many questions always learn that the hard way. The hallway lights flickered again, and then, from the guest room, a shadow moved. Tall, slow, human. My husband froze, staring into the darkness with wide, terrified eyes. Then he whispered, voice cracking with recognition, I remember her.
The moment he said the words, I remember her, the entire hallway seemed to freeze. My husband's voice trembled, his eyes locked on the dark threshold of the guest room. His breathing turned shallow, like he was drowning in a memory he had spent his whole life burying. I touched his arm gently. Tell me, I whispered. What do you remember? He didn't look at me. Couldn't. I was maybe 8, he said slowly, voice shaking. She came to the house, crying. She said she didn't feel safe. She said someone was after her. My mother-in-law stepped forward sharply. Stop talking, right now. But he continued, almost in a trance. She grabbed my hand, he whispered. She asked me to stay with her, to help her. His breath cracked. She was bleeding. I felt my heart twist painfully. Where? I whispered. He pointed to the floor of the hallway, the very spot where we stood. Here, he said softly. She knelt right here. His voice broke. She begged. My mother-in-law exploded. Enough! The hallway vibrated with her scream. But for the first time, my husband didn't flinch. He turned to her slowly, fear dissolving into something else. Anger. You told me she attacked you, he said, voice low, trembling with betrayal. You said she tried to hurt me.
His mother's expression faltered. "You were a child," she snapped. "You remembered things wrong." "No," he whispered. "I'm remembering them now." She took a step toward him. "You didn't understand what she was. She was unstable, dangerous. I saved you." But he shook his head. "You said she fell down the stairs. You said she miscarried because she was careless." His mother opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I stepped forward. "So she didn't fall. Something else happened." Her jaw tightened, her eyes cold, calculating. "She shouldn't have come here," she shouted. "She shouldn't have involved my son. She shouldn't have tried to take him from me." "Take him? How?" I asked quietly. My mother-in-law's voice dropped to a chilling whisper. "She told me he deserved a better mother." My husband stared at her, horrified. "She said you were hurting me?" he whispered. His mother's eyes glinted. "She was jealous, manipulative, sick." But my husband shook his head slowly. "No, she was scared." "She was pathetic," his mother hissed. "She destroyed her own life. I simply didn't let her destroy yours too." I felt my breath catch. "What did you do?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped backward, toward the guest room door. Her eyes flicked toward the darkness inside. "She brought it on herself," she murmured. "All I did was finish what she started." The words hit me like a physical blow. "You... what?" I whispered. But before she could elaborate, my husband suddenly gasped, a sharp, wounded sound. "I remember more," he said, clutching his head. "She screamed my name. She was trying to get away from someone." He looked straight at his mother. "From you." His mother's face twisted. "You don't know what you're saying." But he did. He remembered. And the voice from the guest room whispered again, soft, broken, filled with pain. "Help me!" My husband staggered backward, tears streaming down his face. "That's what she said, that night. She said, 'Help me.'" His mother rushed toward him.
Stop! Don't listen to her. Don't listen to that voice.
"Why not?" I demanded.
Because she's telling the truth? My mother-in-law snapped. She's dead. My breath caught. This time she didn't try to hide it, didn't twist it, didn't sweeten it. She said it plainly, hard, final. "She's dead," she repeated, "and she's been dead for 20 years. My husband whispered, "Because of you?" His mother's expression didn't soften. "She died because she forgot her place." The hallway felt like it shrank around us. I felt faint, sick, cold. My husband stared at her like he was seeing a stranger. "You killed her," he whispered. "You killed her." His mother didn't deny it, but she didn't admit it either. She only said, "I saved you." My husband let out a broken sob. "You ruined me." Her voice rose sharply. "I protected you." But then, something happened that made all of us freeze. From inside the guest room, a faint, trembling sound.
Not a whisper. A cry. A newborn cry. Weak, fragile, heartbreaking. My husband staggered backward, covering his mouth. No, that can't be. My mother-in-law went pale. Don't listen to it, she hissed. There is no baby, there never was. But the crying grew louder, clearer, coming from the same room where the pregnant woman disappeared 20 years ago. Tears filled my eyes without warning. Her baby. Oh my God, her baby. My husband shook his head violently. No, stop. His mother lunged toward me, eyes wild. Don't go in that room. But I took a step toward the open door, because the crying had stopped being soft. It was now sharp, urgent. And then, a single whisper followed it. Find me.
The crying echoed in the hallway, sharp, fragile, unmistakably the sound of a newborn. My heart pounded so violently I thought my chest might tear open. My husband's legs wobbled beneath him. My mother-in-law's face drained of all color, her lips parting in silent horror. That's not real, she whispered. It can't be real. But her voice lacked its usual dominance. It shook. The baby's cry came again. Longer, clearer, closer. It was coming straight from the open guest room. I stepped forward, pulled by something deeper than fear, something maternal, instinctual, ancient. But my mother-in-law grabbed my arm, nails digging into my skin. Don't go in there. I ripped my arm free. I shouted, my voice echoing down the hallway. Why? What did you do in that room? What happened to her baby? Her breath shuddered. Nothing happened. She was unstable, I told you. My husband snapped, stop lying. His mother recoiled as if slapped. He stepped toward her, tears streaking down his face. You lied to me my whole life. You told me she ran away. You told me she abandoned her baby. You told me she hurt herself. His voice cracked. But none of that was true, was it? His mother's jaw tightened. I protected you. No, you hid the truth. The crying grew louder, so loud it filled the house like a heartbeat. I took another step toward the room. My husband reached out, grabbing my hand with trembling fingers. Don't go alone, he whispered. I'll go with you. We moved together toward the doorway. Slow, terrified, drawn, my mother-in-law stumbled backward, shaking her head violently. She's not in that room, do you hear me? She's gone. But the moment we reached the threshold, the crying stopped. Silence, thick enough to suffocate. My husband squeezed my hand. Are you ready? No, I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. We stepped inside. The air inside the room was colder, unnaturally cold, as if the walls themselves held their breath. The room was exactly as we left it years ago, unused, unloved, untouched. A single old rocking chair sat in the corner facing the window. It swayed gently as if someone had just stood up from it. But the thing that made my stomach twist, in the center of the room on the dusty floorboards, lay a small, folded baby blanket. Old, faded, stained. My husband gasped. That's hers, he whispered. I remember that blanket. A soft exhale of air drifted across the room, brushing past us like a cold hand. And then, a shadow formed behind the rocking chair. A woman's silhouette, still, silent, watching. My husband stumbled backward. No, it can't be. I gripped his arm tightly. Do you know her? He nodded slowly, tears spilling down his cheeks. She used to read to me, he whispered. She was kind, gentle. She never hurt anyone. My throat tightened. What happened to her? Before he could answer, a voice whispered, clear as breath on glass. Ask her. We both turned. His mother stood in the doorway, pale, shaking, but her eyes burning with fury. She screamed, You don't belong in this room. You don't get to dig up ghosts. Ghosts? I whispered. No, my husband said softly, staring at the shadow. She's not a ghost. She's a memory. A truth. His mother's scream split the air. Enough!
She lunged inside the room, grabbing the baby blanket from the floor and clutching it to her chest. She didn't deserve him. She didn't deserve her child. She was never going to be a good mother. She was going to ruin him, like she ruined everything. My husband's face twisted in disbelief. You took her baby?" he whispered. Her mother froze. "You took her baby?" he repeated, louder, harder. "You took her baby and you told everyone she hurt herself." Her mother shook her head. "No, I saved you." "Saved me from what?" he screamed. Her voice cracked. "From losing you to her." A beat of silence. And then the rocking chair creaked, slowly, softly, back and forth. The shadow behind it shifted, moving towards us. My husband trembled violently. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the air. "I'm so sorry I didn't help you." A soft cry responded, not angry, not vengeful, but heartbroken. My mother-in-law dropped to her knees. "She tried to steal you," she pleaded. "She tried to replace me. I had to protect you. I had to." But her voice trembled with guilt she could no longer bury. The shadow moved closer. My husband whispered, "What happened to her baby?" The answer came from the darkness, gentle, broken, devastating. She never got to hold him. My husband's legs buckled. My mother-in-law covered her mouth with trembling hands. I thought it was best." "You lied," he whispered. "You lied about everything." And then the shadow slowly faded. The cold lifted. The room breathed. My husband collapsed into me, sobbing. His mother just knelt there, shaking silently. The house finally fell still, but the damage was done. The truth was out. And nothing, not love, not fear, not time, could ever put it back. We left the house 2 days later. My husband chose to come with me. He chose to seek help. He chose to rebuild his life without the lies he had been raised to believe. His mother? She stayed behind, alone, with the echoes of everything she had done. Some nights the neighbors say they still hear crying inside that room, a woman's voice, a newborn's wail, but we don't go back. We don't look back. The past has finally spoken, and we listened.